Hi everyone, welcome back to Spiritual Growth Tarot. I'm Denise and today I'm using the Light Seers Tarot and it's for Friday, April 2nd, 2021. So we have Justice reversed, Death rebirth, and the Two of Swords reversed. Okay, so with Death rebirth being the theme, that's all about big changes that come in. It has to do with moving on from one place to another. Like I've told you guys many times, every time I've moved house, I always got this card. Remodeling can be the Tower card, but actually moving house and going to another place, another area, is like a brand new. You're letting go of the old. You're completely letting go of the old, and then you're creating a new life in a new place. So that's where the rebirth comes in. So it's all about transitions and new starts. Like I said, big changes. So I think there's a transition going on a soul level. I think there's a transition going on about believing we're walking away, we're moving away from believing that that life isn't fair. Now, life isn't perfect, of course. Life is just not perfect on Earth. And inside, deep down inside, in the core of who each of us are, is perfection. But then here we are with life, and we're like slammed with everything else but the perfect love that we came from. So it can be really challenging. This card, when it comes through reverse, can be about corruption and deception and, negative karma. So I think we're moving away from all of that. And we're moving towards a brand new way of being in life. Now, if we were to look at this upright, we would be in the state of mind where we would always look within. Notice the mirror image here. It's always an inside job, and we would look within to be able to create the big changes in our life. So when it's reversed, the only thing that's messed up with it being reversed, I think, on a soul level, is by not taking self-responsibility for the fact that we create our own lives. And we're not perfect in that, and we get as many do-overs as we need, and it's not something to ever judge ourselves or worry about. It's just keep moving forward in the direction that you want to go that brings in the change that you want to experience. But that means that you have to make a decision. And with the Two of Swords, sometimes there's a lot of fear when the Two of Swords comes through reversed. There can be you can be afraid of making the wrong decision, or feeling like there's no best choice or no right choice. And then sometimes it's that the untruth and the injustice is exposed. This can sometimes be, if it's a lie, it can be exposed. With the Two of Swords reversed. But I feel like it has to do with, we're all going through this place where we're transitioning into knowing that we create our own reality. At least that's what I believe, and I've changed my life. I've reinvented myself so many times based on a new level of awareness that I came to. So I'm living proof that it works. Because coming from the upbringing that I had, which was pretty traumatic, I'm here and I'm good. I'm not confused. I know the truth, and I know how to meet the pain, and I know how to work through it and process it and turn things around and change, literally I've changed my belief system. To stay back here puts us in like victim consciousness. And yes, we were, it did feel like victimization as children, because with children we don't have the choice. These two cards here can speak to, it is very unjust, and children can't really exercise their free will. They can run and hide, and at a certain age, you start rebelling, and then you can get the heck out of Dodge. But when you're little, you can't. When you're really little, you can't do that. You just have to survive. And then what happens is there's a process of numbing out, because we numb out all of our feelings in order to survive. And later on, as we grow up, we start realizing, oh, I can't feel where I should be able to feel, or I keep feeling like there's no, like life is meaningless, and there's not much life force in me. You go through periods of exhaustion, and little by little, when you start thawing out, that previously frozen soul substance. I always like to remember Barbara Brennan in her Hands of Light book called it frozen psychic time conglomerates. That's what we're numbing out. So we're always healing the past, and we're always thawing out previous areas of our souls where, injustice happened to us. And it wasn't fair when we were little to go through that. But for some reason, we chose to, incarnate through these parents to help us wake up and remember who we truly are. And you might see that, like if you look at both your parents, you might see how there's parts of you that are like them and other parts of you who are completely opposite, and you're there to help them learn something at some point. And then at other times, it's just about being re-wounded in the way that you needed to be wounded so that you could become aware of the false belief about yourself. So the question is always, how did your parents, how did you feel growing up in the home? What was the environment? Did you feel safe? Did you have your real needs met for safety, connection, warmth? And then eventually growing up to be, well, if a little one is seen and heard and understood, when a baby cries, it needs comfort or food or something. And if the parents come, then the child grows to trust relationship. But if the parents don't come, then there's a betrayal. And so it throws you back into yourself, into a way where you, as an adult, you have to question, what do I believe about myself? And then the question becomes, is that true? Like, I grew up believing I didn't matter. As an adult, I had to teach myself, well, I'm here in a body. It's physical. I'm in physical matter, so I have to matter. Of course I matter. But that's not what I learned. But from my parents, I had to teach it to myself. But then I had to reel myself back, into past lifetimes where I felt I didn't matter. So until you learn the truth about yourself on all levels, you can't fully rebirth into the true you. So it comes through in cycles, and it's like a spiraling into the pain and the wounding, and then eventually, you're pulling out the weeds that don't, if you're spiraling into a beautiful, perfect forest and garden, eventually you pull the weeds out and everything's nice and clear. But you have to take self-responsibility for the false belief in the first place. I mean, yes, our parents are to blame. But if we just stop there and keep blaming them, we don't come into our power, into our full, true power. Because most of all, the justice reversed is about an imbalance. And so we're always trying to balance out our soul substance to get it back to its natural, shining, beautiful light. So every step on the path that gets us back into the core, every spiraling into deep inside the core of who we truly are, we will go through many little ego deaths. We will let go of our false pride. We will let go of our self-will. And we most of all will let go of our fear. And as we do that, every step of the way, every time we do that, we rebirth more of who we truly are into our bodies, or out from the core and outwardly. And, from the heavens coming down and up from the earth, it's just, there's no direction really as to where all the light comes from. It comes from everywhere, and it's already alive and well within every cell of your body. So we just have to keep making the decision to go inside all the ego death that we need to go through. Now, that doesn't mean that you ever let go of your ego, because a healthy ego steps aside and lets the higher self direct, the direction of your life. But trust me, if you didn't have an ego, you wouldn't know your name. You wouldn't know who you were. To be egoless would be to not exist, and that doesn't make sense. So there, some traditions have gotten that message wrong. That it's just a little misunderstanding. That's all. But a healthy ego steps aside and lets your spirit guide you. And then you're no longer confused. With the Two of Swords, you can shift it around to the place where there's no more fear. There's no reason to be afraid, because you've gone through it so many times before. And then on another level, you can kind of detach yourself from the past, where it did feel like there was this injustice, where it did feel like there was no good option, and all that can shift. Now, if we were to look at reversals, so with reversals, for anybody that's still trying to understand what the heck a reversal means, I mean, with each card, it's like you take 78 cards and then make it that much more complicated. I'll try to make it simple. And I don't tend to have any hard and fast rules, but I tend to try and look at it from all different angles till I get to the answer for me, and this can help you if you're reading cards for yourself. So one way you can do it is to go to the card before. When it's a major, you can go to the card before, which in this case it would be the Wheel of Fortune. And that brings in that information of creating your own reality, creating turning points in your life. It may seem like there's destiny and fate, and there are certain things that are destined, you're destined to experience until you heal them. And then you can rebirth into a whole new life. You can go through a rebirth in the same body. I've done it a couple of times. It's not fun. It's a couple of years of pain. And lower back and neck goes through, your whole spinal column goes through a tremendous amount of change. But it saves time. You don't have to leave and then come back and start over as a baby. You know what I mean? Saves a lot of time. So it does seem like things are destined and fated until you work through the unconsciousness and bring the consciousness in. It's just like, the Carl Jung quote around, what did he say? Something about making the unconscious conscious. Like, until you make the unconscious conscious, you will... call it fate, or it's like the unconscious will direct your life. That's what it is. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. So the unconscious will direct your life, and then you will call that fate. But it's not, because you can turn it around, I mean, with the Wheel of Fortune, let me grab the card. Where it's the gal with I love this card. She has the dice around her neck, which is like, to me, that means, take a risk. Try creating your own reality. Well, she's got it. She understands that because, she's happy. Look at all the stars around her. She knows that she's the one that has to keep everything balanced. And sometimes, though, we're not on top. Sometimes we're kind of at the side, questioning things from a different angle. Sometimes we're completely upside down going, oh my God, how did I get here? What did I do? And that's okay. That's okay. There's we don't need to, we don't need to judge ourselves harshly at all. What's important, though, is just to know that you have the power to change your life. Because, if we created it, we can turn it around. And no one else can really do it for us. I mean, of course we can have people help us and support us, but they can't actually do the work. No one can make you do the work. We're all just, facilitators for each other. We don't actually really, do the work and make the changes. That's all upon each one of us individually to do for ourselves. So another way to look at a reversal is to look at it as being the exact opposite of its upright meaning. So, again, this will be justice, fairness, equality, injustice, Things aren't on an equal footing. Things, are not balanced, completely balanced, and then imbalanced. So you work on the imbalances to make things right. And then the Two of Swords is always about decisions. Well, reversed, it would be an indecision, or not making a decision, a refusal to make a decision. But we only do that because we're afraid. We're afraid of making the change and making the wrong decision. Well, it's never wrong to move forward, even if you end up going in the wrong direction. You'll know that. You'll learn that. It's kind of like if you're going on a road trip or you're going somewhere and you make a wrong turn, you realize, oh, wait, this isn't the right way. You turn around and you go back. It's no big deal. And another way to look at the reversals is that it can be that like the energy of the card is blocked somehow. It's just not fully available. So you're going through a rebirth and big change, but you don't have all the answers yet to clearly go in the direction you want to go. And then other times it could be that the reversals mean that it's like I was saying before, the unconscious experience of the card. That gets a little more confusing to get inside of that. But if it's repressed energy or inverted divine essence, if you look at it that way, when it's reversed, or the power of the card is kind of denied. If you're denying the place inside of you that can rebalance your soul substance and make decisions, take the blinders off and make the decision, then you can turn it all around. And then sometimes when people read reversals, they look at the negative meaning of the card. You'll probably see me do that a lot in my political readings. Because, once you get inside the feeling of the situation, then you start seeing that. So, but I try to leave it open to interpret in a few different ways as well. So, okay, so anyway, let me put these up here. Let's use the Animal Spirit Oracle and see what else we can get. I have a feeling there's some more messages. Oh, we had this card yesterday, I remember. Oh, and Lizard, that's another one I don't think I've ever drawn before. Okay, so, but our theme is, it's time for a deep dive. Boy, that sure goes with the Death Rebirth card, because you can see that going into, like, who are we truly? We're a part of nature on Earth. Yeah, so it's time for a deep dive. Koala Spirit says that Spirit has a plan. Yeah. So that's it. You know, when you're going through a rebirth experience, you do have to completely surrender to your spirit and trust that it will guide you. Your spirit, your higher self, you know, the depth, the truth of who you truly are will guide you. And then you're literally dreaming your new world into being. That's really cool. I love how these cards are kind of saying the same thing. But we do have to, you know, make those decisions. But at first, maybe when the Two of Swords comes through reverse, maybe we can't make the decision because we're still going. When you're in the midst of the rebirth, it's like the caterpillar liquefying inside the cocoon, and you don't really know who you are because the new you hasn't come through yet. So that's okay. If that's what's happening, that's okay. You just go through it and trust that you will come through the other side. And let yourself take as much time as you need. It takes as long as it takes, you know. And we're not there until we're there. We're not done until we're done. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. That's all I have for today. Thanks, you guys. And let's send each other lots of love and support and good vibes for a wonderful weekend. Okay. Bye.